Good morning, LCR. I'm sitting in the narthex this morning, and in front of me is one of the etchings we have that are indicative of the resurrection. So hopefully you've noticed that on the glass leading out of the church, each of the pictures is an icon of resurrection. The one that I'm looking at this morning and showing you is Jonah, and Jonah is the story of being swallowed by a kind of deep sea monster and then being spat up to a new kind of life, and it became an early icon of resurrection. For the Christians, Jesus was swallowed by the deep, dark sea monster of death and then was spat up at the resurrection when death was eviscerated. I wanted to show you this morning because one of the questions we have in mind right now is, all right, what's next for this pandemic? And I have two things that I want to share with you, one short term and one a little longer term. The first is we're going to start recording different parts of the services with your voices. So I want to invite anyone who would be interested in recording part of a service with your own camera and your own sound and emailing it to us so that we can splice it into a video of resurrection, to please email me at revpike@gmail.com. That's REVPIKE @gmail.com. And we're going to assign parts. And it may just be one sentence, it may be one phrase, it may be one Bible reading, but we really want to make a worship service that is the work of the people here. The second thing is, like the state of California and the government of the United States, we're starting to talk about how would we reopen here. It appears that there's not going to be a grand reopening, but something very small. So what we're starting to think about is something called where 2 or 3 are gathered. That means that we'll be scheduling times in the next couple weeks where people, either by family group or individuals, not more than 2, with me, will be able to gather in the church at a scheduled time to share communion and be able to offer a very short worship service. This was actually inspired by a friend and mentor of mine who had been a chaplain with the Marines at the siege of Quezon City in Vietnam. He wrote about sitting during the siege and offering communion one by one to young Marines in a bunker, hearing their confessions and offering forgiveness. As we continue through this pandemic, it's time for us to have some creative solutions very similar to a wartime, where we can continue to build bonds of communion and restore ourselves after a time of absence. So that image of Jonah is helpful. How did Jonah live after he was spat out by the monster? So if you're interested in having your name on a list of people who will be the first ones to try out where 2 or 3 are gathered, please email Susan, lcr17@verizon.net.